I oversee a lot of our pre-college and parent programming, as well as our research and data analysis. So I'm super excited to bring this activity to you all, and I hope that it's insightful and that it sparks a lot of great discussion around this report that we just recently released in collaboration with the Latino Donor Collaborative. So the first part, I'm going to have a conversation with Dr. Kimberly Douglas, the Chief Research and Impact Officer at SHPE, and with Ana Valdez, the CEO of the Latino Donor Collaborative. And then do not go, stay here, because we have 3 amazing STEM content creators with us that we will have further discussion about their impressions on the report, and that's Diana Iracheta, Jay Flores, and Elio Morillo. So we have an evening planned for you, and we hope that you'll enjoy it. So I'll first start by inviting Kimberly and Ana to this first part, and if you can just take, a couple minutes to introduce yourselves. Ana.
Okay, well, thank you. First of all, thank you, Dinah. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Andrea. Our partners at SHPE are really a joy to work with. So thank you for having all of us and for organizing this. My name is Ana Valdez, and as Dinah said, I am the CEO of the Latino Donor Collaborative. And the name is a little bit, disguised because we're actually a think tank. And so a lot of the information that you'll hear today comes from us. A lot of it comes from SHPE. SHPE, follows up with all of you. And of course, has brought in this amazing information, but the economic information of the impact of Latinos is from us. So thanks for having me. Really excited to share these numbers and this experience with you all. And so proud of each one of you. Really, the numbers reflect a cohort of kids that will change the world. And I'm really, really, really proud of being here.
Thank you, Ana. Kimberly.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for being with us this evening. I also want to start out with expressing my gratitude to Ana and to Patty. They've been amazing partners in publishing this report. And I have to say, over the 5 years that I've been at SHPE, I have many, many, many times quoted the various publications that LDC does. So I'm so very grateful for all of your work. At SHPE, I'm SHPE's Chief Research and Impact Officer. And that means I'm responsible for the programs that we run centrally at SHPE, both the ones that we've had for a long, long time, like our scholarship and our mentorship program, and also the newer ones that we've created in order to help SHPE achieve its mission, like our Equipando Padres program that's for our parents of our engineering students. The other thing that I have the pleasure of doing at SHPE is my office supports our regions and our chapters and our members individually. And then the piece that we're here to talk about tonight that Dinah runs within our office, and that's our research arm. And what we really try to do with our research is not only to inform our own work and what we choose to do at SHPE to make a difference for our members, but also to share that information publicly, which is what we're doing here this evening and what we did with the report that we published with the LDC. So excited for the conversation this evening, and I'll let you take it from there, Dinah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ana and Kimberly. And let's then do what we came to do. Let's talk about the report. Can everyone see my screen okay? Yep. Awesome. So our report, sorry, there we go. The goal when we were working on this report and we contacted the Latino Donor Collaborative, we had all these data. And what we wanted to do was to delve deep into the experiences, right, of Latino students and professionals in engineering and tech. And through the data that we had collected and the expertise, right, of the Latino Donor Collaborative on presenting this data, to provide invaluable insights that would inform not only both our organizations, right, but organizations, government, companies, and be a catalyzed change across the broader engineering and tech ecosystem. And we proudly presented it during Latitude last September. And let's start with you, Ana. So the Latino Donor Collaborative, like you mentioned, this is the work you do. You talk about the economic impact of Latinos in the United States, and that actually set the context, right, for our report. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So, the mission of the LDC is to show the real value of the US Latino community, right? We found at the beginning, when I actually didn't, but when the founders created this organization, we saw there was like a big difference between the perception of who Latinos were and the reality of who Latinos were in this country. So these are some of the numbers that we actually come up with every year to show the reality of how important we are. And in a lot of different ways, how much Latinos are driving the growth in this country. And of course, you guys are an example of this, right? So first of all, one of our reports, we measure the GDP that Latinos are producing in this country, the gross national product, right? Which is basically the indication of how important we are economically. And so according to our latest report, which we released also at Latitude last September, if Latinos were an economy by themselves, they would be the 5th largest economy in the world. And I'm talking only US Latinos. I'm not talking about Latin America. I'm talking only the 60 plus million people that are in this country that self-identify as Latinos. So imagine we, right, you and your neighbor and everybody that you know that is Latino all together, we would be creating the 5th largest economy in the world. Only the United States overall, China, Germany, and Japan would be bigger than the economic power that we Latinos have in this country. So that gives you a little bit of a perspective of how important you should feel in so many ways, right? Your cohort is bringing this to the economy. Most importantly, that's equivalent to $3.2 trillion, only for you guys to know. But more importantly is how much we're growing, because not only today we are that important, but we actually will be more important every year. And there are many reasons for that, but I'll tell you the number, right? So if we were an economy within the top 10 economies that we are right now in the 5th place, we would be the 3rd fastest growing. So only China and India would be growing faster than us. That tells you how much, and that's why I dared to say at the beginning, how much we are driving the growth in this country. And that is something that you should always remember, because we do have challenges. We do have, lack of access sometimes lack of role modeling, but we are still driving the growth. And we are the community that has the biggest upward mobility in the United States.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Ana. But it's not only economically, but also shaping workforce, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Absolutely. So first of all, this number always everybody's amazed of this number. So according to the US Census, the age most populated in the Latino community is 12 years old. According also to the census, the age most populated in the rest of the United States, in the non-Latino Americans, is 62. So imagine 12 years old versus 62. That tells you how young we are. And that's why we will continue growing tremendously, because the majority of our community hasn't even integrated into the workforce.
Yes,
Imagine when the workforce, right? When we go into the workforce and we're actually being part of the productivity of this country. But to the point of Dinah and this chart, even our parents, even your parents, I am one of the parents, but even your parents, right? Some of you, and probably most of you, according to what SHIP, has found, most of you are first gen. So your parents that came here with very little English, with very little capital, with very little access, your parents created that economy, the 5th largest economy. Imagine what you will create. The young people that are first gen, I want to cry when I say this, the young people that are first gen, that already have this hunger that your parents installed in you, because your parents made a lot of sacrifices, and you know what you want? You want to make it worth. And imagine that, in Spanish we say ímpetu, right? That power, internal power of yours, plus your education, your language, because you have English as a first language, most of you, all these advantages. If your parents created this economy, imagine the economy that you will create. But going back to this chart, I get really excited with these numbers. Going back to this chart, we Latinos are the cohort. This is according to the Department of Labor, right? So these are all official numbers. We Latinos are the highest employed cohort every single year. So if you have ever heard Latinos are lazy, really smack this chart in the face of whoever dares to say that, because we're actually the ones that are driving the growth also, because we're the hardest workers. So just for you to know, in this chart, in 2023, 66% of all Latinos that are eligible age-wise to work were working. The next cohorts were, more or less in the 60s, but they were lower than us. And this is not only today. It went through the pandemic. It showed after the crisis in 2008. Every time we're always the most eligible, the most hardworking. So I can go on and tell you, but just know that if you're the fifth largest economy, thanks to your parents mostly, just wait till what you're going to do in some years.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Anna. So Kimberly, right, with the LDC data, we set up the context for this report. Then we go to talk about, right, like the issue in STEM. Can you tell us a little bit about that shortage that everyone talks about?
Yeah, so one of the main things that we're facing in engineering and tech, we've all heard about it, right? It's that 10.9 million jobs that are going to be needed by 2031. And I guess before I go on, I have to say it, as you heard Anna's enthusiasm, you know why she's been so amazing to work with. But these numbers are exciting to me too. And the reason they're exciting to me is that it really not only shows where we're positioned to go in terms of having a further impact. But if you look at it, Latinos have the highest engineering enrollment. And that increase over the last decade has been 73.6%. And if you think over that same time, you could talk about a percent increase again. But in reality, the number of bachelor's degrees that have been earned by Latinos over that period have actually tripled. So if you think about it, that's major improvement. The other thing, there's growth trends as well. If you look at the report, you'd see that in master's and doctoral degrees. But the other thing that you would see is that what we've heard from our members is that more and more of them are wanting to pursue advanced degrees. And those numbers are just staggering, and you can find those in the report. And so if you take a look at what our goal is at SHPE, and if you go to the next slide, the goals over in the chart on the right, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I have to brag for a minute. One of the things that I'm proudest about at SHPE is that 87.7 number that you see there on the left. 87.7% of SHPE members graduate. It's not graduate from the university, it's graduate with their STEM degree. And so if you think about that, and if you go look at other sources, you see numbers everywhere from the mid 40s up through the mid 60s, and what different people quote in terms of a typical rate. That number is staggering. And so whenever you think about how well positioned we are to help fill that gap, that's what we're working on at SHPE. And so the other thing is we have a good high promoter score, which is that 81.2% that's there. But let's talk about what the goal needs to be. And that's the chart that's over at the right. So 3 things are here. The workforce percentage representation, the enrollment percentage, and the degrees awarded percentage. The reason, a lot of times whenever you talk about trying to get to parity at different things in terms of a goal, a lot of people will talk about the population. But as Anna said earlier, because Latinos are so young, that average age of 12, it's important that whenever we look at getting to parity, that instead we consider the workforce. So when you look at the chart, what you see, this takes past numbers and essentially uses linear regression to project it out into the future, thanks to Dr. Martinez. And what you see is that by 2035, enrollment will be at parity with the percent that Latinos are represented in the workforce. And if we just let things go at the rate that they're going now, it wouldn't be until 2060 that we would actually have the number of degrees earned actually be at parity with the proportion in the workforce. And so at SHIP, what's our goal? Our goal is for us to get to that parity, the parity between the percentage in the workforce and the percentage of Hispanic degrees earned much, much earlier. There's debate on what that number should be. Some people say it's Project 2040. Others say somewhere just a little bit past that. But whatever it is, it's moving that point of parity earlier and figuring out how we can accomplish that. And in order to do it, we're essentially going to need to come up with a step function increase in our degree production to do it a lot faster.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing that, Kimberly. And I think, you know, we have this unified message, right, on how well Latinos are doing and how well our members are doing, right, in enrolling and getting their degrees in engineering and tech. But the reality is, right, that there are some needs and challenges that our members face that we cannot overlook, right? And this is shared more in a sense of knowledge is power, right? And if we are doing so well despite all of these challenges, imagine how much more, like Anna was saying, we can achieve if we work into taking these barriers out of the way of our Latino students and professionals. So from the report, you will see that we touch on 5 different challenges. One is the lack of role models, career and academic advancement tools, financial assistance and literacy, challenges regarding homelessness, and then physical and mental health challenges. We won't touch on all of them, first because of time, second because we want you to download the report and read it if you haven't done it yet. But let's talk over a couple of them. And Anna, I'll start with you about the importance of role models.
Right. So, you know, as Dinah was saying, as Dr. Martinez was saying, you know, one of the things that we found with the numbers from SHIP, which are amazing, is that we go back to what I was saying, right? You know, most of the SHIP members, most of the people that are creating this incredible growth in engineering by Latinos are first gen. And that also means that, you know, there's a lack of role modeling, there's a lack of mentorship. There's also even like a lack of images, right? On Hollywood just doesn't tell our stories yet. We're working on it, but you know, they haven't told enough of our stories. And so, you know, one of the things that you members of SHIP responded was that, you know, you didn't have it and that it's really important. I have to say, you know, one of the amazing pleasures of working with SHIP is having been involved with the organization for a year, going to the annual convention and see the way SHIP is working actively in solving this problem. For those of you that were at the convention, at the annual event, you saw plenty of Latinos that were older than you, that are engineers, that have achieved a lot. And that really means, you know, I'm sure a lot. I'm in touch with one of them. He's actually my nephew. And he was saying, you know, you know, it's just so nice to see so many people that looked like me that are what I want to become, right? And so so that's important. And you know, we're working on it. That's again at the LDC, and this is not an advertising for the organization, but one of the things that we do mostly is very focused is working with Hollywood on creating this, on making sure that all Americans know that we come in all the spectrum, that we become peoples in all, adults in all the industries, that we're breaking ground, that we're discovering things, that we're, you know, winning Nobel Prizes, that we're, winning Oscars. And so those stories have to be told. And so that's, you know, to the point of the need for role modeling and mentors.
And why we brought some great role models that we will be talking with them very shortly. So stay tuned. So Kimberly, we also found some, you know, very like sad information, right, regarding homelessness and physical and mental health challenges. Can you discuss a little bit more about that?
Don't change the chart yet. Let's flip it back, please.
Sorry.
So one of the things I have to say, and just sort of warn you as she gets ready to do that, the first time I saw this data, I literally felt sick to my stomach. It was like all of the amazing things that we've just shown you about what's being accomplished, it's being accomplished in spite of. Because the 2 slides that I'm getting ready to show you show some numbers that like are hard to hear. And so I just want to warn you of that before she flips slides. So go ahead and flip the slide, please. So this first chart talks about homelessness. And what we know is that 1 in 5 of our students have experienced some housing or financial insecurity in the last year. And that number to me is just mind-boggling. If you think about being in a classroom with 5 Hispanic students in that classroom and knowing that one of them has experienced homelessness in the past year, that's tough. So 18.4% of our undergraduates, that's the number on homelessness. The positive thing of this chart, if we want to try to find a positive thing, is that everybody talks about how earning a degree actually can move you to a different position, to a more financially secure position. So if you look at how the numbers change, comparing our undergraduates to our graduate students, to our professionals, and to our professionals in grad school, you can see that it's a major difference. But even then, those numbers are 5 and 7%, which surprised me. And we need to be doing more in order to be able to help our members with this, and we're working towards that. The other issue that we found that we need to make sure that you know about, and for me, this one is really comes down to, as individuals, making sure that we ask about other people, how they're doing, and be support everywhere we can. And that's looking at the physical and mental health challenges that our members face. So again, as you look at these numbers, undergraduates have a greater challenge than the other groups, but this one doesn't go down quite so quickly. And so whenever you think about what we need to be doing, this is the type of data that after collecting it, we then look at what sort of programs and what things can we do to make a difference for our members in this space. Because if they're accomplishing what they're accomplishing in spite of, what are they going to accomplish if we get these barriers out of the way, right? And that's really where we're headed. Fortunately, we have a couple of corporate partners that have some interest in helping us create some programming here. And so I see the potential for that happening in the near term instead of the long term. But it's important that we know the numbers and understand what our members face.
And can I add something to everything that you said, Kimberly, because it's so true. Just keep in mind that these numbers, unfortunately, are high for every cohort. There has been a mental health crisis in college students in general. That doesn't mean that these numbers are less important. They are still very, very important, but we need to support our cohort, our kids, with these problems, because sometimes we also have different challenges, right? Sometimes, our parents are not that familiar, with therapy as maybe other parents are, or sometimes we are not that comfortable either, or we may not be able to afford it, or there are some other requirements we need to jump, hoops over and just do it. So again, not saying that it's not a problem. It is a huge problem for every college student at this point. But we need to create, and I know SHPE is working actively in creating potential solutions to support these challenges within our community.
Right. Thank you so much to both of you for all of the information. I want to end this section just letting everyone know that at the end of the report, pages 40 and 41 goes over some, call to action, like actual things that different sectors can be doing to support our Latino cohort, our SHPE members, and SHPE. So we have a call to action to industry, to academia, to government, and then to individuals and Latinos, right? We talk about the importance of role models, right? Highlight success stories. share your own personal experiences, provide, guidance to encourage other Latinos to take on leadership roles, right? Again, so that they can be that role model to others, participate in research. If you get our needs assessment in a few weeks, please fill it out and help us by providing that data. Pursue entrepreneurship and so many other things, right, that we can be doing to support our Latino students and professionals in engineering and technology. So I think Andrea has also been sharing the link, but here's a quick QR code if you want to take a picture of it to download the report if you haven't done so yet. And while now we transition to talking with our amazing STEM content creators that we have invited today. So we have Jay Flores, Diana Iracheta, and Elio Morillo. Thank you so much for joining us. And I will switch the conversation a little bit, still talking about the report, but from their point of view. So before we get started, for those that are not familiar with you or don't follow you on social media yet, because I'm sure they'll do after this, can you all briefly introduce yourselves? And let's start with Diana.
Hi, thank you everyone for having me here. Really excited. My name is Diana Iracheta. I am a Mexican immigrant and I'm the first one to attend college in the US of my family. I have a mechanical engineering bachelor's and I have worked as mechanical and manufacturing engineer. I just celebrated my 5th year anniversary as a professional. I'm also the founder of Latino Engineer and the Ingeniería Foundation, both organizations that focus on developing resources and events and programs to encourage and support Latinas pursuing engineering. So we do some mentoring programs, scholarships, and just overall taking engineering so that I can make an impact and see other Latinas like me also be successful in engineering.
Great. Thank you so much, Diana, and thank you for joining us. Elio.
Hey, everybody. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you all for being here and taking the time. So my name is Elio Morillo. I was born in Ecuador, but I grew up between Puerto Rico and New York City. And I'm a SHIP Lifetime member. I've been involved since 2011, and SHIP is by many means why I am where I am today. And I've gotten my mentors. I've learned so much. I've served on various leadership positions. That led me to, as a professional, work on Mars missions and most recently on lunar missions. And I'm very passionate to make space accessible. And that means a variety of things. So please do follow me on social media. I'm a huge mental health advocate as well. So you'll notice maybe over the last few months, I haven't been posting all that much. And it's because I have taken quite some time to rest. And we're probably going to talk a little bit about that as we move on here. I'm also a published author through HarperCollins. My book in Spanish just came out recently, but the book is called The Boy Who Reached for the Stars. And we'll chat some more for sure. And follow me on social media as The Space Mechanic.
Thank you so much for being with us, Elio. Jay.
Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Jay Flores. I am a lifetime SHIP member, one of the architects of SHIP's current mission and vision statements. So very connected, happy to be part of tonight and the organization. A couple years ago, I went off on my own and started my own business, talk about the report and how we are contributing to this economy. I started a business called Invent the Change, where my mission is to change the world by inspiring young children to keep doing cool things with STEM. I do that in a wide variety of ways. I have my own brand, It's Not Magic, It's Science, which is at-home science experiments disguised as magic tricks. We have a show that we do across the country, as well as social media content there. I'm a mystery science guide for Discovery Education's Mystery Science program, which is the most widely used K to 5th grade science resource in the whole country. So we have a Hispanic voice there, as well as a lot of work with invention education for youth and social media, as well as some TV. So I've competed on ESPN. I was on Exathlon on Telemundo for 3 months, recently competed on American Ninja Warrior as well, bringing experiments and athletics to NBC in prime time. So hopefully you all will be able to tune into that in May, June timeframe.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for the three of you for being here. The first question goes to all three of you. So on a personal level, how was engaging with the report affected your perspective of Latinos in engineering and tech? And then were there any surprises or new insights that resonated with you?
Yeah, this report was absolutely incredible. And what for me, it just really touched the part of my heart that knew this existed and that knew our community had this power and saw it in all the kids that I connect with, but also saw this just like this missing little piece of belief from the outside, right? And so the report is showing the numbers, it's showing the data, the information that our community needs to see, that our youth need to be talked about, as Ana did so well. Imagine what you can do in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And so that we can help drown out the other narratives that are untrue and based in fear and hate or racism, wherever it comes from, right? So being able to say, no, here, this is what is really the facts. This is the data. This is what we have accomplished despite all the barriers. Now imagine what you next generation, all of those 12-year-olds, right? Those K to fifth graders, what they're going to be able to accomplish moving forward. So again, the data point that was huge for me though was how big of not just our population is, but what percentage of Latinos make up the youth of this country overall, and how investing in them is so key to the success, not just of Latinos, not just of the United States, but of the globe, right? And so let's take the time, the energy, the effort into investing in those kids at a very young age.
Thank you.
For me, it helped to learn a lot about what's happening and just seeing how the Latino representation in the US continues to grow and hoping that that continues to translate in the STEM fields as well. It kind of reassures some of the work that we do as an active STEM advocate, knowing that, you're focusing on the right things and that the work that we're doing is relevant, and it's also important to continue making that change. Two of the things that really kind of surprised me, the first one was a Latino-owned business that made me super proud to see that. It was something that I was not aware, but it's really good to see that we're trying to make a change, and we're also going all the way out. Like, we're not just doing something, we want to create our own things as well. And overall, when somebody does great, like the whole family and the whole community gets benefited. So that was great. And then the other one was just the level of homelessness that can impact students. I was really not expecting that. And it's something that, unfortunately, I don't think about as much, and something that I want to focus on more as well. And so it was really eye-opening.
Elio?
For me, I think I had read the Pew Research report that came out recently before. So seeing that SHIP is paying attention to that, and more than anything, the data point that stood out to me is just the need for role models and how that aligns with us in the content creation space and in outreach and in mentorship, how important it is that we keep doing this work. Because truly, at the end of the day, by sharing our stories, we never know how we're going to positively influence or change someone's trajectory and become an example for them potentially. So I encourage everyone to share their stories. And that's truly one of the data points that stood out to me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I can say from the other side, like working on this report, I can echo all of, what you all said. And also, how there are things that but like having the data to back it up just makes a huge difference. So thank you for sharing. So the next question is for you, Diana. And we have been mentioning a lot, and it's the importance of role models, right? And you work, right, in providing role models to Latinas that are engineers all across the nation. So based on your experiences, right, like how important it is to have role models, and even how role models have influenced your own life and career.
Yeah, definitely. This is something that I work a lot on, and that because it's something that I definitely felt like there was a lack of when I was a student. I was able to have two role models through my college career. unfortunately, there were no Latinas, but there were still there were women, there were immigrants, and so I was able to connect to a certain level where I was able to get inspired. One of them was also going through building her family, and that to me really reassured there's room for women that look like me, for people that speak two languages, that English is their second language, that they want to have a family, that I don't have to pick one over the other. And so I definitely experienced firsthand that the importance of it, because it was really hard to find other Latinas, even students, to connect with. However, I did felt like there was some lack of Latina representation that was accessible, where I could reach out and connect with, and that's what led Latina Engineer, just trying to connect more Latinas across the country and come together. And so up to today, I am able to bring more than 800 ingenieras together annually for a conference and bring role models and connect with each other. And that just fills my heart with joy, because I went from knowing one or two when I graduated to now being able to meet them wherever I go, like when I travel, and build those communities. And then we also have a mentoring program, and I still see that a lot of the struggle we have is finding the older Latinas in engineering that could provide the mentorship. We usually have a younger generation, and that limits a lot of how many mentees we can take. However, it is growing and it's getting better, but it's definitely something that it's taken us a little time to grow, and I hope to continue seeing it grow as well. But overall, it's super important, and I as the Latino representation grows, I hope that this also continues to be in also impacted.
Yeah, and from a personal level, I can tell you, like, the work you do is so important. I remember I was in a podcast like a year ago talking about mentorship and talking about the mentors that I've had. And, when I'm finished talking, the person that is interviewing me tells me, like, oh, so all of your mentors have been men. And can you believe that I haven't realized it until that moment? And it's like, oh my God, you're totally right. Like, all through my education career, all of my advisors and mentors have been men. So how important is the work that you're doing in bringing Latina role models to ingenieras all over the country? So thank you so much for sharing and for doing that important work.
Thank you.
Okay, Elio, your turn. So as we delve into the report, right, one of the crucial aspects that we highlighted was the importance of physical and mental health. And we know, right, like, if you are not doing well physically or mentally, it is very probable that you will not be doing well, right, in school or work, because we are a whole person, right? And we also know that research shows Latinos are less likely to seek help when compared to other groups. There's like this stigma and taboo around our culture and mental health. I follow you on social media. I have seen some of your work and how much you try to bring light into taking care of your body and your mental health, right? So what steps do you think can we make to foster a supportive environment within our community to encourage these discussions around mental health, right? And then what steps can be taken to bridge that gap and access in mental health, and taking also into consideration how hard and challenging, right, it's pursuing an engineering and tech degree.
Yeah, and this is very close to my messaging and my own story. I think it's, for me, over the last decade, through my 20s, and of course through college and before that, I was operating in very much a survival mode. As an immigrant myself, that's what I learned to emulate, and that is how I operated, just because I needed to make sure I did well, I reached certain goals, no matter what I was feeling. I wasn't really taught to feel and to slow down and to process things. So through that process, I've burned out. My anxiety has been through the roof. I really reached a hole of depression through what others may have perceived been successes in my professional career. I landed a rover on Mars. I was one of the engineering leads for the Perseverance rover currently operating and making all kinds of discoveries on another planet. But through that, I was very open of the challenges that I went through. And I think what I've learned, and I'm really going to just keep it short to three things that I think are very tangible that people can walk away with. Throughout all this time, learning to ask for help. As students, right? That is in the form of tutoring, office hours, finding supplemental instruction. If you're struggling with school, there are tangible ways to support yourself through that. Ask your friends, find study groups, find peers to do homework with. Super important. I think we could also feed from the issues that come with finances. It all kinds of it feeds into the problems, but know that in some schools, often, right, you can ask for emergency scholarships, even emergency loans. I had to do that in my undergrad. You can find even grants for professional attire if you don't have that. That then gives you the opportunity to go to the SHPE convention with a suit, go get those interviews, and help you break out of the survival mode, right? And I think from a personal standpoint, lean on your friends, lean on your family, lean on community. And for those of you who can, because it truly is a privilege, go through therapy if that's accessible to you. And some schools provide that service as well. Your medical coverage may provide that as well. And if you have the opportunity to do so, I highly encourage it, right? I am hesitant to just say blankly, everybody go get therapy, because now I get it on a weekly basis. I openly do it, but that's because I can pay $150 out of pocket on a weekly basis. But I'm very well aware that not everybody can do that. That being said, slow down. Something I love from a quote that I learned recently is rest so that you can serve. We talk so much about servant leadership within the organization. And at the end of the day, if you're not really taking care of yourself, it's really difficult for you to serve others. So get that sleep, get that workout, what I call joyful movement. So eat well, rest as best as you can, because you deserve it, and the community around you deserves that best version of you. And I'll close with sharing your story. Again, you never know what experience other people that you may have gone through, other people will connect with and learn from you. And that's been one of the best things about putting my stuff out there in social media, putting my story out in the form of a book, is that people can learn from you and you can learn from them as well. And you create community around it and help each other lift as you climb, as Jay says. It's so important, I think. So yeah, I think it's really important that we all feed our mental health and our physical health, because it's all connected.
Well said, Elio, and great.
Very wise.
Big points there for our students and professionals to follow, and for myself too. That rest so you can serve, that really I felt that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Jay, we concluded the report, right, as I said, with some call to actions and recommendations for different sectors. And one of them is to, for individuals and for Latinos specifically. And one of the things we say, right, is encourage the Latino youth to pursue and persist in STEM. And this is what you do. That is your day-to-day. And I was wondering if you could give us some tips and, things, actionable items that we can do to better do that.
Yeah, so the key for me when I got started on this journey was it happened during the pandemic. And I wanted to write a book like my friend Elio, and I failed miserably. And so I decided instead to go to video. And I looked around my house. I said, okay, kids are not going to have access to fun science experiments and engagement. They're not going to have engineers or SHPE members coming to their schools or their communities. They're going to have a lack of role models. They're going to have a lack of engagement. Science and math through Zoom are going to be very difficult. What do I have in my house that I can teach something with and make fun, right? And it started with simple things like vinegar and baking soda, right? And so the first lesson was that, just got to have a little bit of creativity, and you can find a lot of science anywhere around you. But the true lesson that I got from it was to design with equity in mind from the beginning, because I knew that students and families were going to have challenges during that time period. And there's one particular experiment that I wanted to do that required a lot of milk. And I thought to myself for a second, what if a child got in trouble for doing science because their family was food insecure and the child used all the milk? Right. So it was like one of the most heartbreaking things for me. But at the moment, I was like, I need to check all of my privilege in this moment and design with equity in mind from the beginning so that every child that has a chance to see this opportunity and see this experiment or this video has a way to do it. So with whatever we're doing out in the community, let's make sure that, you know, us as engineers, we like to keep it very complex, and it's not necessary, right? We just need to work on the curiosity that the kids already have and give them fun, exciting avenues to be able to do that. So I always push my partners and funders and volunteers, let's go to the bilingual public schools that need this the most, right? It's cool that I can come do my show at this science museum, right? It's an awesome backdrop, but then we're reaching the kids that are already going to make it anyways, right? I want to reach the kids that had no clue that they liked science. That's why I chose magic, right? We don't even start with the science. It's just a different thing that anyone can connect with. And since I'm a scientist and not a magician, I can teach you how it works. And then hopefully you get hooked and connected to the science and you want to go further, and then share it with your friends. Because once you learn a trick, you don't keep that to yourself. You share it with others. So it's like creating these fun and safe environments, making sure that everyone can get involved, even with some of the cooler, more social media, fun, explosion type science things that I do. I always make sure that there is a safe, cheap, at-home version that anyone can get started with, whether that's because you don't have the funds to order a expensive science kit, or because you're a parent that had science and math anxiety and you don't know how to get started with your kids. We make it as easy and simple and accessible as possible. And then the next thing is like, how do we make sure that we are amplifying this so that every child can see it? So I've taken very unique approaches through social media, but then also through television. On social media, I remember having to meet my first couple other Hispanic engineers, fly all the way to Phoenix for the SHPE National Convention to finally realize, wow, there's more than 10 of us. But now I can just open my phone and I see Elio, I see Diana, I see other of our peers building the world that we want to see on social media, so that the kids that come after us will think that is normal. That's what they're going to pursue and can and should do. So social media is one aspect of that. And then the TV aspect of it, right? So being able to compete on American Ninja Warrior and do an experiment beforehand, showcasing that you don't have to be this stereotype in order to get there, right? I did my experiments in shorts and a t-shirt. As long as you're safe, you know, you can explore and do really cool things with science. And keeping, no matter what level I'm at, keeping that equity in mind from the beginning. So the experiment that I did for the season, without spoiling anything, you can come watch it in a couple months, hopefully. I went to the dollar store to get the materials that I needed for a primetime NBC level type of experiment that is going to be fun and engaging on TV, but the kids will also be able to go to the dollar store or Walmart or wherever they want to go and do it at home as well. And so just continuing to find those unique and fun ways to continue to amplify the really great things that our community is capable of, and always keep it fun and just stick to the curiosity. Don't worry about the acronyms. Don't worry about the hard stuff. Just help keep kids curious.
I love that. Thank you so much, Jay. You're so right. Sometimes we just like to overcomplicate everything as engineers, and it doesn't have to be that complicated. Because we're almost at time, I had some other questions to discuss with them, but I also want to give the opportunity to the audience to ask some questions. So I want to invite Kimberly and Anna back, and let's see. What are some of the questions that we have? Okay, so from Walter Hill, we have, hi, we want to partner with SHPE to provide online educational content e-learning to Latinos in the US. To whom can we address our exciting ideas? Thank you. Kimberly. You're muted.
And you know that I'm going to say that I would suggest that the best person to do that with is Dr. Martinez. She threw the question to me, but Dinah actually runs our pre-college programming. So she's the best person to reach out to.
Awesome. So I think we covered this a little bit, but do we know how the homeless numbers compare with other demographic populations? I think you touched a little bit on that, Anna, on how it's something that is seen across groups, not something that is just particular to Latinos.
Yeah, she did. And in the report, I think there's a comparison. We make the comparison with one data point on the mental health within the report. But one of the things that we're working on is to actually try to work with our sister organizations. Because whenever you go compare with other numbers, you can find it's not a STEM or an engineering and tech focused number. And so being able to actually have a comparison that's a like comparison, apples to apples instead of apples to oranges, or apples to a basket of an apple to a basket of apples. And so we've got a proposal that we worked on that we're trying to get funded that would essentially have us go to our sister organizations and get the other groups, and then go to the professional organizations like the ASMEs and the ASCEs, so that we can also have the data on non-Hispanic whites. So hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to speak not only to our own situation with regards to STEM, but to the whole as well.
And can I add just something? You know, as a Latina, as an immigrant, as a mother, you know, we have something that other cohorts may not necessarily have in the community, which is family. And Jay and Elio alluded to it. You know, our families also, they can't be our therapist. We know that, right? We know. But they can be a haven where you can always go back and, you know, with all its good and its bads, it's there for us. And so just always remember that your family's there, and also the work between therapist and your parents or the people that you need support from. You know, it's when family wants to help, they can also get involved and help with mental health tools and just be a support.
Awesome. So for Elio, Jay, and Diana, what's next for you, and how will the report guide your work or an impact?
I will quickly add, I'm developing more content here that's going to be focused on men's mental health in particular. I think that's often a space that's neglected, especially like we mentioned in our culture. It's a stigma, right, for men in general to even ask for help and to learn to feel at the end of the day. And I'm going to be more active in that space, is what I'll say. And of course, I'm sending a spacecraft to the moon by X period of time. So I'm also doing some crazy stuff with that.
That's awesome.
For me, would be continue growing the community, but also emphasizing on the role models. We usually run in Canada features throughout the year, so that's definitely something that has to come back so that we can continue connecting the community with more role models.
I think I'm gonna give Anna a call so we can go knock on Hollywood's doors.
Yes, please. We need that,
Seriously.
Jay. We do need your help.
I appreciate it. I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so there weren't very many of us. And growing up, similar to what Dr. Martinez said, mine was posters in my college dorm were all African American leaders, and I was like, where are the ones that look like me? And found many through SHPE. And then now as an engineer, I'm like, okay, well, where are the scientists? And I look back to I was very fortunate to have parents that helped explore my curiosity, but I never had the role models. But if they wouldn't have helped, I wouldn't have gotten there. And I kept searching and searching. But there's our kids that don't have that same level of engagement at home and someone that can keep piquing their curiosity. And so when I had my first season of Ninja Warrior, after I did the experiment, they cut to the audience, and there happened to be the reaction of a young boy that was just like the mind blown, wow, so cool. And it happened to be a young Hispanic boy. And in that moment, that was my favorite part of the show, because I realized I got to be the Hispanic scientist that I never saw on TV or commercials or movies.
That's awesome.
Full circle. Amazing.
Yes, 100%. Like that's what really continued me to want to keep going on this journey and finding more and more ways, commercials, TV, any way that we can make it loud for our young ones out there that don't have someone to guide them, so that they can, see themselves and find their way.
Absolutely. Agree 100%. And I'm going to call you on it, Jay. I'm going to call you for it.
Yes. So let's see. Let's get one more in before we hit the hour. So this one here says, and I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to get through all of them. Hola, how can I connect to Latina engineers while I explore colleges and possible majors? Maybe Diana, you have some insight here.
I don't, this is not an ad for Latina engineer at all, but so we have an online community and we are trying to create also local communities. So we have had brunches in Dallas, Chicago, Long Beach, and we're trying to expand. So that's a good way. Like if you're either following us on Instagram or just in our newsletter, you can hear about the events coming up and then just connect. We can connect you with others so that you can start having those relationships and learning more about what we do and what we recommend and what we don't.
And also, I don't know if this was a student or a parent, but our Equipando Padres program, that's basically what we do also, is provide parents with the knowledge and tools to better support their children while they're exploring or getting an engineering degree. So I saw the Explore College and possible majors. That's one of the major topics that we will be discussing on our next EP presentation this week. So yeah, and we are at the hour. We'll try to download all of these questions and get back to some of you. And I will put my email in the chat as well. So if you want to connect directly with me, if your question didn't get answered, please email me. I'll be more than happy to try to find, to answer it. And if I don't know the answer, to try to find it for you. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. I hope this was useful and insightful. I hope this got you as excited as we are about the potential of, our Latino students, our professionals in revolutionizing the engineering and tech world. So have a great night, have a great evening, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.